Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Big Six. Today we are going to do our Premier League 1 to 20s, and just before we get started with that, a reminder to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, but also I'll have a podcast episode out with a couple of friends where we'll discuss this in more depth. So if you want more information on my predictions and some other predictions, tune into that. But we'll start straight away. We'll go from 20th all the way to 1st. And starting in 20th, I have Burnley. I just think that Burnley so far in the transfer window just haven't done enough to convince me that they're going to be able to compete in the Premier League as well as they need to survive. I do think Burnley are probably stronger than the three teams who were in the Premier League last season, so hopefully that is a good sign. I think that the newly promoted teams are generally stronger than the ones from the season before, but I have Burnley in 20th. In 19th place, I have Sunderland. It was hard thinking where to put Sunderland, but until they get that centre-back situation sorted out, I just can't see them being able to survive in the Premier League as much as I like their midfield options. I think, the central midfield is pretty strong, certainly Premier League level. The forward line, there is question marks, and defensively, I just think that they need two centre-backs before we can really start talking about Sunderland being a potential survivor. So I have Sunderland in 19th place. In 18th place, I have Brentford. And the reasoning behind this is just there's been a lot of change there this summer. I think that losing Mbuemo, losing potentially Vissa, losing Norgaard, losing the manager, Thomas Frank, there's a lot of change there. And I just don't necessarily know if Brentford are built to deal with that and whether or not they'll be able to cope with losing so many big parts of that team. So I have Brentford going down in 18th, but I think they will be in the mid 30-point range. I don't think we're going to see three teams go down with less than 25, as we have seen in previous years. I think that Brentford, Sunderland and Burnley will all be towards the 30-point and above mark. But yeah, I think Brentford may just slip out the Premier League this season. In 17th place, I have West Ham. I touched on this on an earlier video, but I just don't love what's happening at the minute at West Ham. I think they're quite stale. I think they've got quite an aging team. I don't like the forward line, Callum Wilson, Nicholas Füllkrug. I just don't think that that's long-term going to be able to do you over 38 games and get the relevant goals. So West Ham I have in 17th place, but I think they'll be them and Brentford. I have kind of at a similar level. So one of them I believe will go this season. In 16th place, I have Everton. These were difficult to place. They've got David Moyes, who's usually pretty solid in the Premier League, but I just think the squad looks so thin, though. Saying that, it looks like they are going to do some business, so this may change if I'd done this video maybe a few days afterwards. But right now, with the Everton squad the way it is, I just worry they're a few injuries away from being in real trouble in terms of even just fielding an experienced 11. So Everton I've got in 16th place, but I don't think they're going to be in massive relegation danger this season. In 15th place, I have Leeds. I think Leeds can break the curse of recently promoted teams. I think they will survive. I think they've built a pretty good squad. I would like to see them bring in a new centre forward. I think they probably will do that, but I think overall this is a pretty strong team. I think Leeds are built potentially for the Premier League. I don't know if the manager will last the full season. I think that's probably the one question mark or asterisk at Leeds. I just don't know if Daniel Farke is necessarily a Premier League manager, but we're only going off his time at Norwich, which there's lots of caveats to that. But I think Leeds will survive. In 14th place, I have Wolves. I like a lot of what's happening at Wolves. I know they've lost some key players this season, but I like a lot of their players right now. I love their midfield too, the Brazilian pair. I like their manager, Vitor Pereira. I think there is good signs that Wolves will be just about all right. I think they are a bottom third Premier League team, but I don't think that means they'll be in massive relegation danger. So I have Wolves finishing in 14th. Crystal Palace in 13th. Some of this hinges on whether or not Eze stays. Right now, Eze is still there, so I've got to factor him in. They haven't done a lot in the transfer market so far. They do have Europe to contend with as well, which could hurt them. But I just think they've got too much quality to be drawn in any sort of relegation scraps. And I really like the manager. Oliver Glasner is a very, very good Premier League manager. So Crystal Palace in 13th. I've got Fulham in 12th, similar to Crystal Palace in the sense that they haven't done a lot of business, but they're just steady. They've got a manager who's steady, Marco Silva. Just don't see him dragging a team anywhere near relegation danger. They've got a really good squad. It is, a squad that's getting on a little bit in age, but I think Fulham are more than all right, and I think they'll compete well in the Premier League this season and finish in that mid-table area. I don't think they'll be challenging towards Europe, not unless they bring in some players, but I don't think they'll be anywhere near relegation trouble. They'll probably finish with like 50-ish points, and that's a good season for them, and that's good for Fulham to be there. In 11th place, I have Bournemouth. I really like Areola, and I think Bournemouth are largely doing good things. They've just lost some players this summer, which are going to be difficult to replace, and that means that there probably will be a slight regression. But overall, there's lots of positives at Bournemouth. The only concern is if the manager was to leave, but even then, the squad's pretty strong. So I don't think Bournemouth will be pushing Europe either, a bit like Fulham and Crystal Palace. I just think Bournemouth are the best of that three and probably finish somewhere in the middle of the pack. In 10th place, I have Nottingham Forest. Again, they were a difficult team to place. They had such a good season last year, but I do think that there's reasons to be less optimistic this season. Number one, they're going to have European football, which obviously means playing a lot of Thursday night games, which does hurt a team. You know, the data sort of suggests that a regression is expected. They've also lost Anthony Elanga, which is a big blow to the way that they play. You had the Morgan Gibbs-White situation, which has been resolved, which is obviously very, very good news for Nottingham Forest. I like the manager. I think he will have them, you know, fighting towards the top half of the league. Just don't think they'll have as good a season as they did last season. I don't expect Chris Wood to be as much of a goal machine this season. So I'm expecting a slight regression from Nottingham Forest, but 10th, that is still a very good finish for them. The first of the big six teams I've got Manchester United in 9th place. I don't want to go into too much depth on them, but I don't see them being as bad this season. But hey, if they are, you know, struggling like they did under Ruben Amorim towards the end of that season, then maybe Man United could be in a bit of trouble. But I do think that on paper they've got a decent team. I don't expect them, especially now they're not in Europe for this season, to struggle as badly as they did. In 8th place, I have Tottenham. Just think with Champions League football in there, new manager coming in, they will be better than they were last season, but I don't think they'll be challenging for the top sort of 4 places. I just think they'll be a little bit short of that. But again, that's fine for a first season for Thomas Frank. 8th place is progress from where they were under Ange Postecoglou. In 7th place, I have Newcastle United. And again, these are a hard team to place because there is so much happening at Newcastle right now. We don't know who's going to be the starting centre forward. We don't know if they're going to bring in, you know, maybe 2 new strikers and Isak goes, or maybe even Isak stays and they bring in another striker. It's hard to know exactly what's happening there. They do need centre backs as well. They are short, I think, in that area. They're also probably short a little bit in central midfield as well. And they've got the addition of Champions League, which means they could be playing 10 or 12 more games this season, or even more if they do very well in the Champions League. I think that Newcastle have issues because of that. I still don't think they're going to be, you know, sinking much lower than 7th. I still think they're going to be in European contention. They'll probably be fighting pretty hard for that 5th place. I just have them a little bit shorter than the teams above them. In 6th place, I have Aston Villa. I think my main thought here between Newcastle and Aston Villa is that Aston Villa are in Europe but aren't as, you know, they don't have Champions League. It's Europa League for them, and I think that will help. Unai Emery, when Villa have been in Europe in the past, has had them solidly challenging for Champions League places. He will rotate that squad round. I don't think Villa will be playing the strongest team for the Europa League, certainly not in the early stages. So I think that that's a benefit for them. I also like what he does with the squad. He's much, you know, Villa have got a bigger squad and they rotate more. The only reason why I don't have them in 5th place is just that they do look weaker on paper than what they did towards the end of last season. So I could see them, you know, struggling to get in there. In 5th place, probably my boldest prediction out of all of this is that Brighton will potentially get Champions League football. My thought on this is that I think Hertzler will see this team progress. I think they will be better this season. They don't have Europe like, you know, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Tottenham and Nottingham Forest. That will be a massive benefit for them. They put all sort of their eggs into this one basket, just like what Brighton are doing. I think they're a club on the up, and whether or not they get in the Champions League this season or Europe this season, maybe not. But over the next few years, I think this is a team that will crack into that upper echelon and start competing with Newcastle and Aston Villa on a regular basis and getting into the Champions League potentially. And I think this season might be their season, though it could very easily be wrong and they might just end up fluttering somewhere in the middle of the table. The top 4, I'll just go through quickly because this is beyond the big 6. We don't want to talk too much about the teams that are in the big 6, but I have Chelsea finishing 4th, Man City finishing in 3rd, Liverpool finishing 2nd. I've got Arsenal winning the league. I think most people probably have Liverpool win the league, but I like the signing of Gyökeres, and I think that will be potentially a difference maker for Arsenal. I think Arsenal will throw all their eggs in the Premier League basket this season. So let me know what you think. Let you know whether or not you agree with my predictions. Give me your 1 to 20s as well. I'd be interested to read them. I've also got a podcast. I'm not sure exactly when that will come out, but when the podcast does come out, the first episode will be covering 1 to 20s. I've got my friend Anth and I've got my friend Niall doing that with us as well. And we'll see their predictions and whether or not, we are in agreement. And spoiler, there is plenty of disagreement in our 1 to 20s.